Today's guests are two women who somehow survived working in a department with four different Amy's, which honestly feels like the beginning of a sitcom or a psychological experiment. Dr. Amy Tepper and Dr. Amy Vaughn are educators, speech-language pathologists, longtime colleagues, and now co-authors of a really timely book called Grounded in Greater, a faith-informed approach to K-12 education and beyond. We're going to talk about education, faith, raising grounded kids in a chaotic culture, and what's actually happening inside schools.
Well, hello there, ladies. How are you today?
Hello, we're good. Hello.
Good. Awesome. So I've got two Amy's that I get to talk to. And the first question I have to ask you is, how did my two Amy's survive in a department with four Amy's? Like, was everybody just shouting Amy all the time and everybody was just answering yes?
For about 2 days, and then we all just started going by our last names. So professionally in academia, we're just known as Tepper and Vaughn.
I love it. It sounds like you need a TV show. You need your own TV show. That's a perfect name, right?
It has been a thing. We have talked about it before. Yep.
Yeah, that's next, right? After the book is all the promotion for the book is done, then you'll start on your television show that you're going to have. Maybe just add more things to your plate. How about that, right? So listen, you both have like really incredible academic backgrounds, but what I love is that the book feels very human and very grounded. No pun intended with the word. But what made you want to write this book now? And we can kind of volley back and forth, whoever wants to answer first.
I can go ahead and I'll start. I think we were really called to the work more than anything based on our own professional experiences, our backgrounds that we have had. We just felt that education is just this monolithic institution that would really do well to have some transformative opportunities in ensuring that it actually continues to serve the purpose that it was initially intended for, which is an educated citizenry. And so our hope in bringing Grounded in Greater to the fore was ensuring that we were able to give knowledge and understanding as to how we can create meaningful transformation that is not just grounded in something greater, but also grounded in theory and practicality and efficacious instructional approaches and methods that can really make a difference.
We hear constantly education is in crisis, right? But depending on who you ask, everyone blames something different. From your perspective, what is the biggest thing that kids are missing right now?
I'll take this one to start. I think one of the big things that kids miss today is just some general how to be a good human kind of interaction. And so we talked. Conversation is how this book came to be. All the hours, hundreds of hours of just talking until finally we said we need to put this in writing. But one of the big pieces is that education should give you a well-rounded start in life. And it seems to me, at least, that in our current day, kids get taught to pass tests. They need to hit certain benchmarks to move forward. Not every school is equipped the same. One of the big things that I always remember at the start of our conversations was that somebody said to me, "What's a big deal? It's a public education. If every it's a public education." So that means to me that the kids in the inner city with little money in their school district are supposed to perform equally to the school districts that have money that they're tripping over, right? Equal doesn't mean it's not just because it has public in front of it. It's not necessarily the same, right? And so beyond the basic learning that kids need to do with math and reading and social studies and those kinds of things, how are kids learning from their peers and from adults that they respect or have to deal with at least every day, how to be a good human? And I think that we agree that people have gotten away from kind of teaching just good interaction, right? How do you develop grit and determination? How do you teach somebody to be honest in a situation where maybe honesty or dishonesty is favored? And so we just started talking about those kinds of things as being really important parts of academic processes that just don't necessarily occur And I love that you pointed out about like whose fault is it about this or that, right? And that's something we talk about in the book, right? Parents are like, the teachers aren't doing their jobs, and the administrators are saying that parents don't understand the constraints that we're under, and the students are like, nobody cares about us. And how do we get everybody together, all the stakeholders together around some really good, just human interaction kinds of things, and build those pieces, right? Because those are soft skill kinds of things I think people talk about that don't necessarily get addressed in K-12 education consistently.
My goodness, are you hitting it all right on the head? That is all so true. There's such a tremendous disconnect between parents and administrators and teaching, and disconnect between parents and kids. And wow. And, and I'm sure we'll get into it too, of course, some of the things that are also causing that disconnect. But I want to go back a little bit to the title itself, Grounded in Greater. First of all, such a great title right off the bat. What does that phrase mean to each of you individually? And how did you even come up with the name? Like, was there an aha moment?
I had an aha moment. We had been talking hundreds of hours, like Vaughn had mentioned. And I remember I was sitting out on my deck and I thought to myself, what is the hook? In order for me to write anything, I'm actually a terrible writer in that I need to start at the very beginning and work my way through. And I needed the hook. Like what is going to bring all of, the pieces that we are consistently talking about and wanting to, create some meaningful change related to helping and supporting our communities, the families, business owners, the parents and children. And honestly, it was like out of nowhere. It just hit the 10 Commandments. Now, I don't know if it was, the Lord Almighty, planting a seed. Yeah. But as soon as I hit on the 10 Commandments, it was like it all made sense. And so that's really how that came to be.
Yeah. And I think for me, Grounded in Greater just makes sense. I feel like we spin our wheels in that we meet some basic tier requirements. But what if we were grounded in greater? What if actually getting to humankind and treating their soul while we treat their brain would make a difference, right? What if we could reframe this idea of faith, right? A faith-informed approach. Our faith is in a hope for a society that can do better, be more connected, care about their neighbors, want everybody to succeed and move forward, whatever that may look like for each individual person. So for me, it's legitimately about truly grounding yourself into a process that should lead to greater outcomes. Maybe somebody still scores the same on their math equivalency test, right? But will they gain the introspective ability to see their human worth and value and apply that out into society somewhere at some point?
The word grounded, of course, the greater is, that's its own topic right there, of course. But being grounded in something greater, it's almost something that's tangible. When you read that saying, that phrase, that title, I feel like you automatically feel yourself getting grounded, just planted in a good place. So I love that so much. And, one of the things that I really appreciate is that your approach doesn't feel angry, and it doesn't have like a strong political vibe, just for the sake of politics. It's more like, how do we help humans flourish? And you bring that out as you both are talking, that where this is coming from, it's coming from a wealth of goodwill and good intention and resources and tools and everything to bring us back to that. And I think that's so important. Was, as part of your planning process for the book, was that part of the conversation? Like, here's what we're not going to do with this book. Did you have that mindset of we're gonna stay in this very, very specific lane?
Mm-hmm. I think if anything, my writing was probably more inflammatory initially. I got to be honest, I'm a little angry about the state of education today. I know we can do better. We need to do better. We should be doing better. And yet, because education has become very politically charged, it's become very polarized. It's very difficult to, as a more conservative individual to exist in a space where you see indoctrination happening every day. And you see that young minds are being molded from a very biased perspective. And so, yeah, I was angry. And even in the early readings, I mean, the readers might enjoy some of that more inflammatory language that I brought to the table, but I knew I had to tone it down. And out of respect for, wanting to help to support that transformation, knew that I had to, bring the tone down to a place where people would be more open to the idea of the messages coming through. Because truly, I don't think that it comes across that we are politically bent or motivated one way or another. But I do think we do try and give a fair sort of side-by-side approach to how does this align with folks who are more liberally minded? How could this align with folks who are more conservative in their mindset?
Yeah.
I think for me, it was important that we not situate ourselves in any specific faith or value or political lean in any way, shape, or form, because the reality of the world is that we all have to exist together. And so my personal beliefs and values about religion or politics, the two things you're never supposed to talk about, right? Those things are maybe not important. What's maybe more important is that we get people on board, right? Join the journey that says it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on, what neighborhood you live in, what church or place of worship you go to. We all are together. We're connected in this universe. And together we can take different perspectives from different backgrounds, beliefs, values, and tie them all together to improve our communities. And that starts with making sure our kids have solid foundations in those kinds of things.
Clearly, a lot of parents feel like they're competing. I mean, I think we all feel like we're competing with the screens and the social media and the algorithms and the culture and all of that 24 hours a day. It's just such a constant thing. Do you think because of all that, and it's probably kind of a redundant question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I want your take on it. Are kids, really growing up so tremendously differently than, say, we were, how we were raised, and how is that affecting everything that they do, their interactions and everything from your perspective, what you see daily?
Yeah, I think things are drastically different. I think they were headed this direction before COVID, but I think COVID kind of sealed the deal on so many changes about just engagement in general. I have kids, they're in their mid to late 20s, and my son was still in college when COVID hit. And to this day, he will get online with all of his friends and they do games and do all sorts of stuff virtually. Rarely does he ever get together with a big group of people and just have conversations face to face. And I think that this distance, like we're a little bit away from you, right? It makes people feel safer, maybe that they can maybe say something they wouldn't if they were at arm's length with somebody. There's just something different about the environment when you're this close to somebody and talking. You can feel their feels and see their emotions in their, you can see the wheels spinning, that I think you miss when you're online. Both of us teach online, and that disconnect of hundreds of miles, right, or even 5 miles is a big thing. And I think that really does impact students of today, the next generation, for sure.
I absolutely agree. I think it's not just the level of student disengagement or the disengagement of the youth, but I think when the pandemic hit, it led to disengagement of parents, and the screens became a quick and easy pacifier, something so that the parents could get done what they needed to get done working from home. And really the children, there was a lack of guidance, lack of socialization opportunities. We're both speech language pathologists. I was a school-based practitioner for 18 years, and we have more kids now who are coming up who are being identified as having communication impairment, who have developmental delays. And a good bit of it is because they had lack of socialization opportunities, play opportunities, time to communicate both verbally, non-verbally in same space with one another. And it's troubling. I think when we were growing up, we are products of the 70s. So, we're getting up there in age. But Gen X, very different, tend to be a little bit more feral. had a little less supervision. Parents were both working outside the home. We were latchkey kids. And so we really had to learn survival through the adversity of not having someone around. And so we learned to be independent and self-sufficient. We learned that it was okay to make mistakes, that failure wasn't the end of everything, but that it was another opportunity to try. And I think we have a heightened level of sensitivity in these later generations who are not willing to take the risk in their learning because they don't want to fail. And instead of parents providing the level of support and engagement necessary to give them those tools, what ends up happening is we have helicopter parents and snowplow parents. And instead they try and pave the way for their children instead of allowing them to maybe not succeed the first time in a very safe way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so wild to have like the two extremes of the parenting style that is, like you said, that basically wraps their child in virtual bubble wrap to protect them, from all of life's bumps and bruises. And then you have the far extreme other end of that, of the apathy, the non-involvement. And, and it's what's lacking, of course, is the balance and the grounding, of course, and being grounded somewhere and in something that is unchangeable, that is constant. And, and this is a world that they, I feel, and I know you do as well. I feel so much for the youth of today because they're facing challenges that we didn't deal with. Our biggest fears, Gen X right here. So, I mean, everything that you said is 100% accurate. And to touch on what you were saying about, during the pandemic and all of that, for you guys as speech pathologists, like the masks had to be such a huge issue, right? Because they can't see the movement of your mouth. Like I always wondered about that for the youngest generations, the ones that are just learning to speak and these, communication skills. That's probably right where the biggest issues are coming in. Those kids who are, 7, 8 in that range, somewhere around there. Those are probably the ones that are struggling the most. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. The masks were absolutely terrible. There's nothing more that needs to be said. It was just absolutely awful.
Yeah. We tried as a profession to have clear masks. Those steamed up, fogged up, got awful. And also for all of the people that we serve, because we do lifespan work. So even with like the adults with TBIs and our elderly with strokes, having those masks were just horrible, right?
For individuals with hearing impairments, the mask would muffle, if we had benefit of, some residual hearing that was supported with hearing aids, it was like the mask just made it virtually impossible to make sense of what was being shared.
Elsa, you made a comment about two different perspectives of parents, the helicopter parents or snowplow parents, and then ones with so over-engaged and then not engaged.
Right.
And I think there's a little bit more of a nuance there that just because somebody's a helicopter or snowplow parent, right, they're paving the way, it doesn't mean that they're actually engaged with their child. They're engaged with everything outside of that child, right? Instead of just sitting down and talking to their children, maybe some of those folks are so busy managing the outside forces that they would just sit down and talk.
What a phenomenal point. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that all of the things are possible and in any given moment or time, right? A parent might act or engage one way and then another way. I certainly know as my children went through school that I was mama bear some days and even called mama bear once. And other times stepping way back and just letting my kid talk to them, try to prepare them, but then kind of removing myself for those opportunities of failure. You can learn through failure. And the biggest thing is to learn that you survive, right? I have a colleague that's a teacher that says, but I didn't die, right? Like take a risk.
That's so our motto. Our generation's motto right there is like, but did you die? You're fine. Yeah. Yeah, you're good. You're good. No blood, no broken bones. You're fine. Dust it off, right?
Yes, got it. Only one broken bone. That's still good.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah. But that also brings up a great point. Let's talk about that resiliency that seems to be lacking so much that we were, talking a little bit about. Let's talk about how faith plays a role in resiliency. I could say that 5 times fast, Elsa. Do you find that especially with young people dealing with like anxiety, identity confusion, loneliness, and pressure, talk a little bit about how faith can play a role in resilience for them?
I know for me, I like to focus less on things like identity, which has become very popular over the past few years. And I really like to remind my students more than anything to think about your purpose and why you're here and why you're doing the things you're doing and what's motivating, what drives you to want to aspire to be, whether it's a therapeutic practitioner, whether it's, to be a business owner later in life, whether it's to enter into higher education yourself as an academic. I think it's really about purpose. And if you have purpose, that will keep you going. That is the ultimate motivator. And that is what gives you the grit, the resilience, the perseverance, determination necessary to meet your goals. I'm not saying everybody has to have the same understanding or definition of what is success. For me, it's not millions of dollars, although retirement at some point would be lovely. But I do know, sorry, Mike. I do know that if you define success in a way that resonates with your heart, with your soul, with where your passions lie, that you can make all things possible.
If I could stand up and applaud at that without ripping everything apart, I would be standing and applauding for that right now. That was just such a phenomenal statement right there. I love that. Yeah. 100%. I didn't even give you a chance to talk. Vaughn, I feel funny referring to you by your last name, but I'm doing it.
Just go right ahead. I think resilience and grit, I think we need to talk more about them because I think there's a misunderstanding that resilience and grit auto ends in this cookie cutter life. And resilience and grit for different people can get you to different places. Right. So what your learning aptitudes are, what your proficiencies in handling just everyday things, all of the pieces and parts of somebody come into play with that. Right. And for some kids, resilience and grit might just be making it to school every day because they slept in their bathtub because they're afraid of stray bullets. Right. And for another kid, resilience and grit might be that they have to figure out how to eat lunch because they have a lot of food allergies that aren't considered, right? And those two things don't look equally the same, right? Those are very different issues going on for those kids. But the reality is for those specific kids, their issues that they have to overcome are real. And they're you can write them down and you can measure the outcomes and you can do all of those things. And so I think when we think about resilience and grit, we can't just say you will show resilience and grit if you get all A's on your grades this time, right? Maybe it's just about showing up. Maybe it's about realizing, like, does somebody tell these kids, right? But you didn't die. You wrote a book, but you didn't die, right? You did a thing, but you didn't die. Maybe that should just be the banner for all the kids. Like, give it a try. Right. And you may fail.
Is that the title of your next book? Wink, wink.
Yeah, okay. But you didn't die.
If you ran forward, done.
Right? There you go. Perfect. It's a plan. I love that. So talk to me a little bit about what you think teachers need most right now. Because obviously we hear a lot about students and parents, but teachers, educators have to be so exhausted right now. So what do you guys need at this point? What would that look like for you? That's a loaded question, right?
I think the first thing that comes to mind, I think, for any educator is just respect. And I say this with belief that respect is the highest form of love that you can extend to another human being. You don't necessarily have to agree with them. You don't have to share the same faith. You don't have to share the same interests with them. But as another human being trying to give back to the world, trying to empower others with knowledge and skills to be successful so that they can act with integrity in the world, so that they can be lifelong learners, so that they can contribute and be engaged citizens. I think ultimately for me, with educators, it comes down to respect.
Yeah.
It's been lost over the years, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would agree. I think a shared vision would be part of that respect, right? Realizing that you're not supposed to solve the world's woes alone, right? It's not the teacher's responsibility to right every ship that's been tipped. And if people came alongside, if one parent, like I'm in a class right now, I'm taking some extra courses. And one of the assignments was that you have to share your gratitude with somebody that you know and love and somebody that you barely know every day. Like you are supposed to just let the person know why you're grateful that they exist, right? And I think the teachers just kind of get beat up all the time. And then parents get beat up, everybody gets beat up all the time. How about we just flip that around? Instead of complaints, we give some gratitude and a little bit of love, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It turns defensiveness and hostility like on a dime most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't, obviously, of course, but generally it does. And if you approach someone or something who is clearly having a bad day or just not having it with you, and you show a little kindness and a little compassion, it diffuses so much. And we do forget that. Like we're so reactive now, defensive and reactive, that we forget that everybody's going through something in life. Talk to me a little bit about, because I love asking co-authors. I've never co-authored with anyone before, so I love asking this. Co-authors, did you agree? This is impossible, but maybe not. Did you agree on everything in the process of writing this book? Or were there moments where you had to, lovingly, of course, tell each other no? I feel like there was one with the toning it down, but were there...
I think, by the time we got to writing this book, in truth, we had talked about it until it was written in our heads. And so to put it on paper, there were chapters and things in the book that I kind of took, the lead on, and then Tepper took the lead and did other pieces and parts of the book. And then combined, right, we had to maybe put a little bit of paint on the edges to connect all the dots, right? But we worked at her kitchen table day after day, right? We just sat and worked on it together. And if I got stuck, we talked it out, because I'm a verbal processor. So much to her chagrin. So but I think, I don't think we had any, honestly, I don't think there was ever a point where I was like, I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous. We're not going to see eye to eye. We legitimately come from different faith backgrounds, but share this common ground of these are the things that we need people to understand about what makes humans human, right? We have an opportunity and an option to choose integrity, to choose hope, to choose faith, to do all these things. And I think because it's so uniquely grounded in that space, there was no issue.
There really wasn't. Honestly, I think back and I think, me toning it down with my language, I like words. I like to use the fancy words and the lingo and, professional terminology. And so, yes, taking a step back from that, I did the best that I could. But we divided out the book really into where are the areas that we are most comfortable talking about. And ultimately, I think it came together beautifully. Vaughn was responsible. We have in the book vignettes with every chapter that really speak to sort of aligning with this blueprint that we lay out, this one-to-one schools and communities together. And Vaughn was responsible for every single one of those, whether she wrote the chapter or not. I put that on her. And then it was my responsibility to do discussion questions at the end of each chapter, as well as extension activities, if you really wanted to challenge yourself to something more. But otherwise, we really did work well together. It was a really nice collaboration.
Yeah. We should.
Right?
But
as
you
long
didn't
as
die. That's
You
it.
definitely, I think you should. That doesn't, after, having this opportunity to sit and talk to you both and listen to you, none of that surprises me in the least. I would have been shocked if you said otherwise. You just have this wonderful collaborative friendship where you could see the respect and caring between each other, and it's so lovely to witness that. It's almost like getting this preview of what you're going to be reading in the book. Like you're going to be reading something written by two people who just embody this greater good mindset because you live it and you operate in it. And I think that is obviously something that is just going to pour right off the pages in that book. And it gives it, it gives it more validity in my mind. To me, it feels like, yeah, like after listening to you and talking to you, it's like, I know when I read this book, I'm going to go, yeah, no, I buy this. Not only did I buy this book, I buy what it's saying, so I love that. It's amazing. Tell me, when readers finish this book, what do you hope stays with them long after they put it down?
Oh, that's a great question.
I think my hope is that they move forward with a lot of the aspects that we wrote about committing to, whether it's purpose, hope, integrity, compassion, gratitude. I think it's seeing it not just as a blueprint for how we can transform education into something that is, wonderful for every student, but more of a blueprint for life, that this is a book about having a life well lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would hope that people realize they're just part of the puzzle and they don't have to stand alone, that this is about community involvement and engagement and stakeholders. It's not just pointing a finger at teachers or administrators or students who are not performing up to their capabilities, but this is really more than that, right? There's a part that Tepper writes about this power of one, right? Setting goals, individuals setting goals to achieve every week. And if you have 3 goals and you hit all 3 of those goals, you have the power of one. You're a whole number, right? If you get 2 out of 3, it's, 66%. 0.66, something like that. I don't math. My language. I'm a speech therapist. I do not math.
I can't math.
So, but I really think, like, if somebody has one takeaway, right? How do you make yourself whole? You can set goals that you can achieve, right? And help your students set goals they can achieve. Help your kids do the same. And also, I want to set goals with Tepper that she can achieve, and I want her to help me set goals that I can achieve, because you can't get through life by yourself. But you can set your own trajectory. You can set your own path. And setting goals is one of the things that becomes really important, I think.
Yeah. I feel like this is, of course, a book that anyone can pick up and read, whatever, lane of life you're in. Anyone can pick up this book and read and get value out of it. Who specifically did you have in mind for your audience? Like, who is it that when you wrote this book, you said, these are the people that need to be reached? My guess would be parents and teachers, but it is broader than that, or is that like the biggest lane?
For me, it was really about bringing in community stakeholders. So many we raised our kids in a small town. We lived outside in the greater Cleveland area, moved further away, came kind of back. And I think that, people are hungry in the business world, in the marketplace, to have employees that can work at any level, from entry level on up. And it just became very clear to me while we were talking about all of these things that there's a disconnect between the people who want to employ a high school graduate, right, and the process for that student to get to graduation. And so how do we bring into this picture not just the PTA mom who's got time to be at a meeting, right, but the guy who owns a grocery store and he needs people to bag groceries in the evening when they're not at football practice or wherever they might be. And so really getting the commitment to a community. If we take this little idea of what can a school do and apply it to what can a community do, that doesn't just change the lives of the students and the teachers and the parents. It really changes everyone, right? We can talk about it with seniors who have lost purpose, right? Or removed from society or pushed aside. And if we could get them involved in a school district, they have value in histories and they built the communities they live in and all of those things, right? So how do we get people to understand that to get to 86 with a rich history and all of the things, they actually started at 16 right where you are. And here's how they live their life. So for me, it was way bigger than the schools. It was always about getting the stakeholders involved.
Tell everybody where they can find this book.
You can find it at Amazon, Amazon.com. Yep. You look up Grounded here. I've even got it. Grounded in Creator.
Look at it. It's a gorgeous book.
You can find us. You look up Amy Tepper or Amy Vaughn. It'll pop right up there for you.
I love it. And of course, everyone watching and listening, the link will be in the show notes. So you'll be able to just click right on it, go right to it, buy it for yourself, buy it for a friend, buy it for your school, buy it for your boss, buy it for everyone. It's that simple.
That's sounds like a great idea.
Right. It's, I mean, it's always gift season. There's no specific time to buy gifts. It's always gift season, birthdays, everything under the sun. I can't thank you both enough for sharing this time with me. I appreciate it so much. I loved listening to you both. And my hope for you, besides more books, besides tremendous success with this one, of course, my hope for you too is that you are thinking about doing some book tours and talks and things like that, because you are so enjoyable to listen to. And I just picture you both on a stage with a moderator asking you questions with an audience in front of you. So, I keep putting these poor women, I keep putting more things onto their plate. Like you don't already have enough, but I just have to tell you that these are things, as we're talking, I could so easily see you both doing, because you just have such a wonderful wealth of information, of course, but such a wonderful way of conveying it. So thank you very, very, very much.
Well, thank you so much. And we would be thrilled to talk to anybody about the book and coming to talk to them. We would really like to help communities and schools who are interested in reading our book and seeing the value and figuring out how to get it rolled out into their school systems and into their communities for sure.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching or listening, whichever the case is. And we look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. So take care.
Thank you. Thanks.
You've got a story worth sharing. Now it's time to tell it well. Whether you're an author, entrepreneur, influencer, or podcast guest, stepping in front of the camera or microphone can feel overwhelming. On the other side of the mic is your practical, encouraging guide to becoming a confident, authentic, and engaging interviewee. Written by media personality and best-selling author Elsa, this book blends real-world wisdom from hundreds of interviews with a touch of humor, grace, and heart. It's more than a how-to. It's a roadmap to presence, professionalism, and peace in every conversation.